Welcome to SML Total Access, where we break down news, predictions, and more in our Madden League. Now, let's get fired up for SML football.
Hello and welcome back to the SML podcast. I am Primetime000, and with me, as always, is my trusted co-host, Tiny Titan. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. It feels like it's been a month, man. It's been a while.
It's been a while, man. Glad to be back. We're back in black, and now let's get right to it, man. We don't mess around. Topic 1, first down. NYT benched Lamar Jackson for most of the game against Rams. He's blaming, apparently, Lamar for his faults. Did you see this, and what's your thoughts about that?
I did see some chatter about that, but I'm pretty sure the game after he finished with Lamar in the game. But he's kind of stuck with him, isn't he? I mean, he's paying him $42 million a year. I mean, he's 99 overall. I mean, I know it's Lamar Jackson, and as a fellow Titans fan, we don't like the dude. But, I mean, he's great in the game. I know he throws some errant passes, but you kind of got to lie in that bed, man. You paid him, and you're stuck with it. I mean, but the stats, I did write down his stats here. Lamar's stats for the year, he's got 63% completion percentage, 1,800 yards, 14 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. Now, Goff, who he's paying $1.5 million, is 74%, 619 yards, 9 touchdowns, 7 picks. So I feel like if Goff had played just as much as Lamar has, he'd probably been okay. So looking at it from the grand scheme of things, it probably wasn't necessary to pay Lamar because, like you've said and several others have said, having a scrambling quarterback sometimes is a fault, no matter how good they are. And I feel like that may have been something that's happened to NYT here now that he's 5-7. And unless Woods just decides to keep losing, it looks like NYT may be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, the thing about it is NYT's got a perfect record in his division. He's really maybe a game and a half back of Woods. And NYT's playing this card like, I'm stuck with Lamar, like even you said. But the deal is Lamar's got a 93 short accuracy, 87 medium, and 95 deep accuracy with a 95 arm, 96 speed, all the freaking scrambling abilities go with it. He is probably a top 3 Madden quarterback in the league after Mahomes and maybe somebody else that I can't think of. The problem is NYT might just be the worst passer in the SML. And part of it, like you said, is I think when you get a scrambling quarterback, after your first read, you'll start seeing people look to run, and their whole mental clock gets screwed up with a scrambler. I don't know what it is. There's definitely some psychology in that. And even last season, Lamar Jackson in 2023, 9 touchdown passes, 23 interceptions. That's atrocious. That is atrocious. I can't believe nobody noticed that. But NYT is playing really bad. What he needs to do is start incorporating shorter routes and getting that ball out quick and tell himself, no matter what, I'm not going to run with Lamar Jackson this game, just so he can get in the habit of throwing timing routes with them. Then he can start incorporating the run because people take away defensive line guys to spy and to contain. You're not going to have a pass rush. You should be completing passes because there will be quarterback spies across the field. Anyway, rant's over.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I don't know about the whole worst passer thing. I could put an argument on that one. But the whole running out of the pocket with a quarterback whenever, against a stationary quarterback, I can attest to that a little bit because with Russ, I kind of got to where, if I feel I get real nervous quick when I start seeing pass rushing coming around.
Yeah.
And I would just take off with Russ. Well, now that I got Derek Carr this year, I can't necessarily do that as much. And I did try to make it a point last night when I played RD to sit in the pocket, come back. If nobody's coming up the middle, which of course he's got Aaron Donald, so it doesn't help. But if nobody's coming through the middle, just step up in the pocket like normal. And I was noticing I was getting some time. I was completing some deep routes. I mean, I threw for over 300 yards with Derek Carr.
Yeah.
That's saying a lot with how I've played this season. So I think there's a lot too of if you got to figure out if you want to be a scrambling quarterback or if you want to be the guy that's going to sit in the pocket, because once you start, getting nervous for the first little bit and take off running, that's just going to screw with your whole game. Because once you get to one side of the field, you take off one way or the other, you're cutting off half of your chances of getting the ball anywhere. So So you just got to figure out what you want to do and stick with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So let's move on now. Second down, um, Death Wish. A lot of people said this dude is not. He's a pretender. They're like, Death Wish. He's kind of boring. He does the pulls. He's electric with that. He's good off the field, but on the field, he's no QB stud. But all he's done really is win games. And other than the season when he was moving, he's again sitting right there in the seventh seed. Is he gonna make the playoffs? And who do you think's out if he does?
So yeah, I can agree that people we don't really know what to make of him because you'll see him in chat doing 7,000 polls one day, and then he'll pop in and talk, and then he's out for a little bit, and then he's back. Which I understand. Everybody's busy. They got their times when they can be in chat and not. But okay, so his losses were 9 points to Dan, 10 points to Future, and 3 points to Future. That's his only losses.
Yeah,
Now his remaining games are against the Chiefs, Broncos, Panthers, Bengals, Browns. I'm gonna say he goes 11-5. Um, at worst, really. I mean, I could see him losing to Dan. I mean, he could probably lose to Woods and then Panthers. I could see. So at worst, I would say 10-6. So um, I think he will probably be. It's dependent on Matt because Matt is right there at 7-5. So if Death Wish can finish up at 11-5, that means Matt would have to win out, and then we'd have to see how tiebreakers work and stuff. So I'd say he's in a good spot right now. But if he does seem to slip, I would say Matt is your guy because I think we'll talk about in the next segment, I believe, that he's got a big game in week 16 that he may have to win
yeah,
to try to get that last position.
yeah. The thing about Matt is he started 5-0, and now he's 7-5. He's got Woods, he's got Meats, Pauly, and RD remaining on his schedule. I don't think Matt's going to make it. I think he enjoyed a very easy schedule, and I shouldn't say easy, a lighter schedule than what some guys face, and and now he's coming into the tough part, so it's going to be tough for him to make it in the home stretch. I think that Death Wish is going to make it. I think the issue will be is he's probably going to have to face myself, Bomber, Dan, or Paulie in his first playoff game. And that's a tough out for anybody. But Death Wish, I think, deserves a little more respect on his name. He's got a good defense. He's become a better passer this season. He's making the right moves. He's not extending stupid contracts. So, yeah, I think that he's a good player. If he can just find a way to get a little bit higher in the seedings, I think he can also make some noise in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, and that was another note that I put in there was that if Paulie kind of finishes out the season like he needs to, which he's got a tough little road here as well, it's probably going to be you or Bomber that Death Wish is going to have to play, and that's basically a Death Wish. But you like my joke.
Oh,
So yeah,
yeah.
but like you said about his defense, he is top half in every category on defense. So if he can get a little more firepower on offense, he could definitely be a force later on in the season.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's move on. Third down here. Coach Polly, man, what the heck is going on? Is he going undefeated, or what's more likely? Polly going undefeated, or you going winless?
Okay, we'll start with Paulie. So he's got the Jags, Broncos, Patriots, Texans left. I'm going to almost chalk up 2 losses back to back because Paulie's already seen him putting excuses in chat yesterday. He said, "Yeah, I think I'm going to rest my guys these last few games." Something, he's talking about resting starters because he don't need to win any more games. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and chalk those up, and I'm going to put a question mark beside Matt because I think it all depends on where Matt is if he can get through these other 2 games before then, on whether Matt could possibly win that game. Now
Yeah.
for me, I got the Lions, Bears, Dump, Jets. 3 somewhat winnable games in history than what I've played with them guys. Just sucks, man. Like I want to win these games. I'm not going to tank. You know this. We've talked about this 1,000 times. But I'm scared to death because there's like 5 teams down there that are like 2-1 to 0 wins. That are all in that same little boat. And here comes a part of my schedule where it's like, oh, I can win some games. But there's a certain person in this draft that I really want and don't want to lose that spot.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not going to tank. I'll let y'all know that here. So I may have to if I can win some games, I will possibly be in your DMs, guys. Whoever's in front of me.
There you go. So that's good to hear. I think first of all, let's just clear the air. I think the Seahawks will win at least 2 games, maybe 3, which right in time to screw you out of a draft spot.
Exactly.
And then for Paulie, I think he's going to finish probably 14-2. I think that between Bomber and Dan, Dan will be without his starting quarterback and running back in that game, which makes things a little more interesting. I think.
I forgot about that.
And Paulie usually plays Dan very close. Dan has Paulie's never beat Dan, but Paulie plays him very close. So that'll be a fun game. Now Bomber, he's playing well. He's blowing dudes out. Bomber's looking for his signature win so far this season because he doesn't quite have one yet. That would be a time to do it, and I don't think that Bomber particularly likes Paulie too much. So I'm sure he's already in the tape this morning looking at Coach Paulie tape, and it'll be 2 guys who study a lot going head to head. So that'll be fun to watch. It'll be a chess match for sure. But I think Paulie 14-2, and he'll secure the number 1 seed in the AFC.
I agree. I don't think Paulie's one of those that really cares about being 16-0 either. So
no, he doesn't care. So let's move on now. 4th down. Meats put out a little MythBusters article. I actually enjoyed it a little bit. There was some talk and chat about it. He said offensive line doesn't matter. So double-headed question here. Does offensive line matter? What do you think about his article? And second, what position group do you invest in then?
So yeah, I thought that was very interesting and very time-consuming. He took a lot of time to do that. I think he's right for the most part. Now there's going to be differences every so often. Like for example, I played Colt I think it was either that night or the next day. And he's the one that actually Meats brought up where he's paid his offensive line. And that man could make some holes, in the run game every so often. Now, like I said, it's sometimes it almost seems random, like a lot of things in Madden. Sometimes my guys could just blow right through like normal, but it seemed like when he needed it on the goal line, I mean, he would just part the seas for his guys to run through.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's worth in the long run, using big money on that when you could put it for weapons on offense and defense. Yeah. So that's just my theory on that. Now, the group that I value the most, I've realized it took me a little while to realize what I don't know the best, like what works in Madden the best and all this stuff like Dan and everybody does. But I've been, trying to learn and get better on it. And I've realized that, of course, speed, but it needs to be your linebackers and corners are important in my opinion. And because I feel like good Madden players, for example, your offense wasn't much or when you got your team this year, yeah. But you can work with it. Most guys that are pretty good at Madden can work with a pretty subpar offense, but you need corners that you're not going to be using to be pretty decent to take care of those guys that you're not on. So I feel like those are the guys you need to focus on is, of course, your linebackers that you're going to be using a lot or safety, whoever it is. But I feel like those corners need to be really good as well because you're not going to be using those guys and they need to be able to take care of that for you with the computer.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that offensive line doesn't matter unless if you have the superstars. I think I've mentioned that on a few shows now, so I won't divulge too much into that. As for investing in different positions, I think that it's important to invest in defense, like defensive line, like you said, corners and safeties, especially with the way change of direction is. Really, I just think the defense is so important that you get the right guys in place. Offensive line doesn't matter and doesn't have a lot of strengths, but defensive line does. Like it's totally like mismatched because if you get a good defensive lineman, he can still shed through and get some serious heat and serious pressure. I'm also noticing having elite corners and safeties is such a difference maker since because quarterbacks who are usually accurate, their passes will actually get absorbed or suctioned to a superstar corner or safety, which makes all the world difference. And so, yeah, I just say anything on defense, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, one thing about the offensive line, I meant to mention that I'm sure some guys saying it. NYT mentioned in chat in another league, his depth chart was screwed up where they had a tight end at a guard. And he didn't realize it for like 3/4 of the season.
Yeah,
that's how much of a difference it wasn't making. So
yeah, it's wild. So let's move on now. Extra point, final topic here. We had SML sit down with Faz. I asked him point blank. I said, Faz, a lot of people call you soft, Charmin soft, flaccid Faz, and you don't have the mentality it takes to win a Super Bowl. He said he does. He says he's got the mental fortitude to do it. Is there somebody who's good right now in the SML that doesn't have the it factor it takes to win it all?
Well, first off, I think Foz does have it as well. I mean, he kind of proved that going to double overtime in that Super Bowl he was in. I think he just had a little bit of a lull since then. But the guy, I looked through and I couldn't really think of anybody that I just really couldn't see winning. Like I could see Bomber doing it, although he does seem like he gets a little nervous there once it gets to the championship games. But I'm going to say Paulie, and for one reason, he always has the attitude that he's the underdog and just the woe is me and I'm probably going to lose. And I don't think that's the attitude you need to have going in. I mean, I ain't got much to say. I'm not even near the playoffs, but you got to be confident, in my opinion. Walk in there like Prime does and say, "I'm going to beat October by 50." I mean, you got to have some confidence, man. You can't always be the little guy making yourself to be the underdog.
So I'm going to ask about two teams, one in the AFC and one in the NFC, and you actually mentioned them. We're in season 4 or season 5 now. Either way, we're well into the cycle. Mad Bomber has been in the AFC Championship every season but once. He's typically, except for season 1, had a pretty solid team. And he's blowing out the regular season, just blowing dudes out. I think he put 59 points up on Coop just last night. At what point do we say that he's a playoff? He struggles in the playoffs. At what point do we say that, or he can't win the big one? Let's rephrase that. At what point do we say Mad Bomber can't win the big one?
Let's see what happens this year, because I see what you're saying. He plays so well throughout the season, and then he's been your kind of Achilles heel as well.
Yes, he has.
But like I do notice when I'm watching his streams in those big games, you start. I don't want to say he sounds nervous, but you can almost hear in his voice like he's pushing. He's really, he's pushing it whenever he's trying to win that last game to get to the Super Bowl. I want to see what he does this year, man. I feel like this is his best chance so far.
Yeah,
honestly,
I think that Madden's a very mental game, and he's had a leg up on me starting early in the cycle. He started off 3 or 4-0 on me with when I was balling out with Jacob Easton, and then from there. I've kind of caught up to him on the win losses. I think he's up on me by 1 or 2 games, but he's got the mental edge because in the back of his mind he's like, okay, I've already beat him before. Now with Dan, he doesn't have that, and I think that's his biggest Achilles heel. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if he doesn't face Dan, and if he can get through the playoffs without playing Dan. Let's move on now to the NFC. I have one more team to ask about. Does Dump have the mental fortitude it takes to win a championship?
I thought about mentioning Dump, but I can't really say it's a mental thing. I don't think with him. I think it's just he gets outplayed by a better matchup whenever he loses. I don't necessarily remember the matchups that it was, but for some reason I feel like Dump would have the mental attitude to come in there and be fine to win the game. That's just my opinion, just from knowing the guy and playing the guy 1,000 times.
Yeah, I think that Dump goes into games like, oh yeah, I'm gonna win. I don't know if it's. I don't want to call it like a. It's
he
like
may be the one that's maybe a little overconfident.
Yeah, he's got like this Rob Gronkowski vibe about him. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go smash this dude. I don't know what it is. Whenever I think of Dump, I think of Rob Gronkowski, and he's just this fearless, just maybe to a fault mentality. And sometimes I think that might hurt him. But I think Dump can win a big one, and I think Bomber too. By the way, I think it's just. I don't think it's Bomber's time, or it hasn't been, and maybe this season it is. And I don't think it's been Dump's time quite yet. And sometimes you need to take those nicks and bruises before you do get over the top. So yeah, no, that was good talk. We're at 18 minutes. So unless if you have anything to say, we'll end this baby.
No, man, I'm good to go.
All right, boys, that was SML Total Access. That was Tiny Titan. I am Prime Time, the GOAT. Guys, thanks for listening, and you guys have a great day.